What's up guys, Keegan with Level 2 Gaming. I'm actually 1/3 of Level 2 Gaming, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me.
Another example of a movie I shouldn't be scared of, but I was Brave. Like the bear and the mother when she was a bear in Brave.
I can't play.
Brave?
Yeah.
The Disney movie
Yes,
Brave.
the Disney
with
movie
the ginger
Brave.
Scottish girl.
Yes.
So how I got into gaming. My story is a little different than probably Tom and Jordan's because I'm not necessarily a gamer. I'm a person who just enjoys video games more than actually living that quote-unquote gamer lifestyle. I have all these backstories of all these cool story-driven games. The first game I ever played, like most people, was Super Mario Brothers on the NES. Growing up in Canada, I remember in my bedroom, we had the twin bunk beds with me and my sister, and then she moved out because she didn't want to live with me. We had the NES in there, and we'd play Super Mario Brothers constantly. Along with, I wish I'd kept this. Do you guys? I hope you guys remember the running pad with the track and field game. I loved that game. I wish I'd kept it because it was crap, but it was a lot of fun. My parents used to yell at us for stomping on the floor. That's probably the first game I played. And then it became more of a tradition at Grandma's house because I didn't own a Super Nintendo, but Grandma always did. So at Christmas, we usually would go for about a week to go to Christmas at my grandma's house and have all the cousins show up. Like this family is of my parents, my mom's part of 5 children. So there's about 30 of us that show up. And we would take turns playing Donkey Kong Country, which is where my love for that game came from. We would play Lion King, which is where my hate for that game came from, because I could never beat it. And then they had Yoshi's Island, which we'd play constantly. So playing with my cousins, and then obviously as we got older, we'd get the Xboxes, the Dreamcast, that kind of stuff. But the first like true memory of me, like, I love video games, was probably around the time Mario 64 came out. And I think it's because of the family atmosphere we had going on at that point. So we got Mario 64. I can't remember if it had to be for Christmas or something, because I remember it being really hot in our living room. We had a wood-burning stove, so we opened up the doors to the outside, to our porch. And this is in New Brunswick, Canada, in the middle of winter. It's probably like, Fahrenheit would probably be close to 0-ish, maybe colder, maybe in the negatives. And we'd open this up, and me and my sister would be playing Mario 64, and even my dad and my mom, who does not play video games, got involved. And it kind of made me realize what video games could be as a source of entertainment, as a source of joy. That's why I like all these childish games, the Marios of the world, Splatoon, oh, those animated cartoon, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I'm a big fan of that series. So, like I said, how I got into video games is kind of weird because it started off with me playing with my sister with NES, playing with my cousins, but I think the N64 is kind of where I owned video games, and then the Xbox was the first video game system that I owned, and that's kind of where my love for, I don't want to say love for first-person shooters because I don't love them, but where I started going into other things other than like what mainstream video game people know, the Marios of the world, the Zeldas, and Xbox opened my eyes to a whole bunch of different games, different genres, and I absolutely loved it. My top 5 video games. Mine are going to be probably a little different than Tom and Jordan's or anybody's in general. This is kind of, I grew, like I said before, I didn't really grow up as a gamer. I grew up as somebody playing video games. I played a lot of sports games, a lot of Mario games. So, number 1 all-time favorite game, period. I've said this before on the channel multiple times, and I actually beat it for the first time on a live stream. You can check that out. There's going to be a link somewhere. Was Mario Brothers 3. I beat that on live stream. I remember playing this game as a child, and you would learn like where the whistles are and try to beat it. And my favorite world in that game was the giant world. I don't know what they actually called it. I say a little big giant world. So Mario Brothers 3, I probably put the most hours into that besides the original Mario Brothers, but I think that's where that game kind of, with the power-ups, kind of came in its own. And I was old enough by that point because when Mario Brothers 1 came out, I wasn't even born. I was born in 91. It came out in 85. So Mario Brothers 3, I think, came out in 91 or around that time. So it's, as I was growing up, we got a little bit later, so I was able to play it as I was growing up in elementary school and get along with that. Number 2, and a lot of people are going to hate me for this because it's not your normal game. NASCAR 06 Total Team Control. I'm a big racing fan. I will always be a big racing fan, a big NASCAR fan. And this game did it right. And from a NASCAR game, what I expect is I expect the feel of the car. I want the adjustability of being able to tweak it like you would on race day with tire pressure and feel the differences. But where this game kind of put it over the top was you could control other cars on your team, which was a little weird. Didn't really flow very well sometimes because I could be in first and then go to the guy that's in 21st and then drive him up. So it was a little weird, but what I liked about it the most was the fact that you could plug your headset into your controller and talk to your crew chief. So if I need to come in, he would say, hey, you've got 3 laps before you should come in and look at pitting. And at that point, I could get on the headset and say, hey, change right side tires only and give me 1 can of fuel. Which, as dumb as that sounds, it immerses you into that experience of being a NASCAR driver. I remember that's the first game I bought a racing wheel for. And my mom probably will make fun of me constantly because of the way I looked. But I'd have this racing wheel in my lap, holding it on, with my headset on. Be like, I'll pit in 5 laps, sir. Who's the leader now? And they had a set of commands and change right side tires only. And it probably looked the dorkiest thing I've ever, but I enjoyed that game it was my favorite NASCAR game, period. And I still own that game. I have it on, I think it was I can't remember if it was Xbox or 360, but I want to say it's 360. I still own that game. And it is Jeff Gordon on the cover, in case you're all wondering. Quick change, number 3 is actually Mercenaries. So this is kind of when I got a little bit older. I got more into the Xbox world, the outside of the sports games. So I looked into Mercenaries, which the reason I liked Mercenaries was I never really got into Grand Theft Auto, but Mercenaries let me destroy anything in sight. So I'm one of those guys that I don't really play the game. I just got all the cheat codes. I have a binder that I actually put on Instagram a few weeks ago with all the cheats in there, and it was just one of those games that I just could blow everything up. That's why I can't wait for Just Cause 3. We're dating this a little bit, but Just Cause 3, Just Cause series looks awesome. So the fact that I could fly a helicopter, destroy every building, and it was just something that I never thought to be able to do that in a game before, and it was just having fun. Obviously, you play the story missions. I like the card value, where you had to get your targets and all that. That was cool, but honestly, I just like digging around in the world. Number 4 is a non-console game. It is a Game Boy game, and it is the Pokemon Red and Blue. I was at the perfect age to when Pokemon just exploded. I had Pokemon trading cards, I had all the games, I eventually had Red, Blue, and Yellow. But Pokemon, I got wrapped up in it. I probably put more hours into those Pokemon games than ever before. And then I kind of left them, and then when Pokemon Stadium came out with the 64, I got back into it because they had the little game pack you could plug in the bottom, and you could transfer Pokemon from point A to point B. So the trading system, because I didn't necessarily have friends that still played Pokemon, I could trade with myself essentially and get all 151. 150 initially, but 151 with it. So I played that along with Pokemon Stadium kind of in tandem, and I absolutely enjoyed those games. Numero 5, number 5. I cannot wait to play on our channel in the series that I had the most fun growing up, because it reminds me of that family atmosphere, just having fun playing video games, is the Mario Party 1, 2, and 3. We won't talk about anything after that because it made some weird changes, but specifically Mario Party 2 is my personal favorite because they had the costumes you dressed up, themed in the world, and it was just a fun game to play with 2, 3, 4 friends, and so many people got mad at each other because it's competitive. I would steal a star from my buddy Will back in the day, and he would punch me because I stole a star from him, but then I'd have to do it to win, and he would steal it back, and I get pissed at him. So it's one of those things where it's competitive, but it's also a lot of fun, and you go back to that game continually, and all the mini games were really well thought out. Other than Honeycomb Havoc, Nintendo, I don't know what you did there, but never do that again. Please, that game was so boring compared to what you had. But I remember, even after you play the game multiple times, you try to beat the world records, and again, that just reminds me of having that family environment, that split screen atmosphere that I grew up on with multiplayer versus the online games we have now. And the whole series, but specifically Mario Party 2, is one of my top 5 games of all time. If I could live in any game universe, that would be a tough one because obviously I'm a big Mario fan and I'd love to live in the Mario world. But I think the most enjoyable one to live in would be probably the Halo universe, just because it's so different than what I'm used to, and the story in Halo I think would be fun to kind of just live and be in that chaos as much as it would suck at the same time. But I feel like with Halo there's all these different aliens coming in and you're going to attack them, that it would just be interesting to see like the politics of that world and how it would all kind of come together and what would happen with the different factions that are going on. If I could bring any game out of development hell. There's not really too many games that are in development hell. There's one that actually was developed and then not developed in the US, but it was released in Japan and then we released it here, and I'm talking about Mario Brothers 2. I wish we had gotten a true Mario Brothers 2 versus what Mario Brothers 2 was, because, I mean, obviously it was released years later as Mario Lost Levels, but let's be honest, nobody really played that. Because it was interesting to kind of see like what Miyamoto thought the next progression was going to be to that franchise. Because it was, looking back on it now, Mario Brothers 1 was this staple of the 2D platform. Brothers 2 was this just weird ass game that kind of just didn't really fit because it was reskinned Doki Doki Panic. And then Mario Brothers 3 was this screenplay. So it's interesting to note that if Mario Brothers 2 had actually been what the Lost Levels are, would Mario Brothers 3 still been that screenplay? What the path would be? Because I think if they had changed that, Mario itself would have gone a different way than what it actually did. How much I love the horror genre. I hate it. 100,000 million bajillion percent. Other than Until Dawn, which you can find on our channel, the scariest game I've ever played before that was Luigi's Mansion, and I think I played it for maybe an hour and a half. It wasn't scary. I just wasn't a fan of it. I don't like being scared, don't like jump scares, don't like any of that. And I think that kind of stems from me and my sister. We lived in a really cool old Victorian style home with back stairways and like creaky floors. To give you an idea, we ripped carpet up when we moved in there and there's all patterned hardwood floors. But that being said, we would hide behind cabinets so I lived on the 3rd floor by myself. This is a prime example. I lived on the 3rd floor by myself. Because I was the cool kid and had the whole upstairs to myself. And my sister, where the N64 was, it had a built-in cabinet. And on each side of the cabinet there was basically like cabinet doors that at the time we could fit in. We probably couldn't fit in now. And she would hide in there for like a good maybe 15-20 minutes and jump out and scare me as soon as I went up to my room. So stuff like that. We had a hall closet downstairs that was just garbage and scary looking because it used to be a back stairway up to God knows where. And then the back basement, we both didn't scare each other there because we knew how much we hated it. But back in the back of that house, there was a unfinished part of the basement that we swear there was ghosts or something back there. So that's probably where my fear of horror games comes from, is just being scared as a child by my sister. So Kelsey, it's your fault. The video game I probably put the most time into would probably be the Pokemon series, the original ones, if we're counting all of them. I played that for hours growing up on my Game Boy, back when you had to buy the light because it wasn't backlit, you had the light on the screen, and my mom would yell at me to go to bed and I'd still be playing it. But single game I probably put the most hours into would probably be Mario 64. That was, like I said before, that was the first game that kind of got me into the environment of gaming and how much fun it could be. So we played that. I played that for hours. Actually, I don't think I ever beat it as a child because I'm short attention span, if you guys haven't noticed. I'm very ADD. But that would probably be the one I put most real time into. Favorite Pokemon? Anything after 151 does not count. I'm just going to say that now. I don't care who you are, what you are. Pokemon Silver, Gold, Sapphire, Ruby, Red, Yellow, Banana, Blue. I don't know. Ripe Yellow, Green. My favorite Pokemon, though, is... Oh, that's a tough question, now that I think about it, because I'm trying to think who I used to go to every time. I would always pick Bulbasaur when I played the game to start out, because Bulbasaur could beat Brock in the Rock Gym, and he could beat Misty in the Water Gym, so tactically that was the best decision. But my favorite Pokemon overall is... probably... It's got to be Electabuzz. It's got to be. I had one back in the day when you could give him nicknames on the game. His name was Buzzy, and he was actually my most powerful Pokemon I ever owned. He got to level 100 before anybody else did. And Buzzy, if you're out there somewhere, I love you. If you're like me, you have nothing to do on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so you should check us out. Go ahead and hit subscribe to see all of our videos. Or, if you want to, click playlists up here, and you can see other content from us.